BTW Cadet Training video. This is for refresher training for the BTW Cadet Trainers. Start first with the book. You should have this book for your student. Should be your student's book, of course. And then the first page you're going to use is, whoops, let me get to the right page. Here we go. First page you're going to use is page day 11. It says day 11, cadet, day 11. That's the first day of training, okay? Make sure that it's all filled out with name, your name, their name, the location, which is 588. If they're out of Kent, it's Kent. If they're out of Shoreline, it's Shoreline, but it's 588 Shoreline or 588 Kent. Then the hours of driving and the hours of observing. If you do any of the driving that day, that is time that they are observing. If they're doing all the driving of the day, then there is no observation, zero observation, and the whole day is of driving, whatever it is, 8, 10, 12 hours, okay? But if you do any of the driving as a trainer with the trainee on the bus, then they have observation time, okay? Bus model, para, P-A-R-A, that's all you got to put in there, bus number and the date of the training. Then you have your areas of training here. Let's pretend that there's no such thing as an NA, okay? No such thing as an NA, because on the final evaluation, I will read it to you later, but there's a note on there that says that they must pass every element on here in order to become a driver. And if there's an NA or an NI on that final evaluation, they do not get to go out driving. We will have to continue their education, or if they're not getting it, drop them from training altogether. We don't want to do that if we can possibly help it. Now, so no such thing as an NA. So what are you going to do if you don't have any railroad tracks to cross that day? You're going to ask them questions about railroad crossing. And in the first half of the day, you ask the questions. If they don't give you the right answer, you give them the right answer. The second half of the day, you question them, and if they don't give you the right answer, then you're going to put an NI on here, okay? If you put down any NIs in the book, I need to know about it right away. So you can call me or text me and let me know what's going on, okay? Because we have to keep track of all this stuff as it's happening, not 3 days later, 5 days later, or whatever, okay? Take, for instance, I'll give you an example. Adverse or inclement weather. It's number 20, standard number 20. If that happens, you're going to go to the standard box here. You're going to put down number 20 and write out needs improvement on it, because they can't remember what the following distance is in the different weather situations, okay? Because you're going to ask them about the following distance. If you're driving on a nice sunny July afternoon and it's not raining, snowing, hailing, sleeting, smoke, fog, or anything like that, of course they're not going to be able to do that part of it, because that's all adverse weather. So you're going to question them about it. Best questions to ask is, what's your following distance in these different areas? What do you do if you can't see more than 2 seconds ahead? You know, like, get off the road to a safe place, turn your flashers on, call into dispatch, tell them why you stopped, and you'll let them know that when the fog clears or the smoke clears or whatever the case may be, that you'll take off again. So there has to be a comment for each one of these that has an NI on it, okay? But remember this, first we train, then we evaluate. So the first half of the day, you're training them. The second half of the day, you're evaluating them, okay? Anything that needs to have a verbal explanation, you'll ask them those questions in the morning, correct them if necessary, ask them the questions in the afternoon. They have to get the right answers, otherwise they get an NI. They get an NI, you call me right away, okay? And make sure that the student's signature is on that page and your signature is on that page. I'm getting a lot of pages coming back without signatures on them, and I got to track you down afterwards to get that taken care of. Now, 2 days is all that's required for cadet training, which should be a minimum of 16 hours of training. If they have less than 16 hours in 2 days, they will have to go a third day. If they have 2 days of training and the second day they're not doing so hot, they may need a third day. They can request a third day. You can request a third day. But make sure that if you want them to be doing a third day, that they're in agreement with you. Because they might tell you, no, I'm ready to go. Well, then we can't force them to take the third day. Okay? But if you need to do a third day, then you're going to do day 12 on their cadet driving. It's the same thing as day 11, except that it says day 12. That's the only difference. That'll be a third day. The second day, or their final day of training with you is also called day 12, but it's called Cadet Driving Final Evaluation with Passengers. They're not finished until this has been done. If this book comes back to me and this isn't filled out, I've got to send it back to you to get it filled out correctly. And on that page it says, there's a message down at the bottom here. It says, student must describe the requirements of any standard that cannot be tested due to local conditions or limitations. And then there's 2 boxes at the bottom there. You would check one for recommending them to be a driver, or you check the bottom one, not recommending them to be a driver. And if you're going to check that one, there's something wrong with that driver, you need to let me know about it before they get to their final evaluation. I need to know about it before they get to their final evaluation. We may need to have a talk with them, conference with them. We need to know what's going on. Are they going to be able to complete this out? There should actually never be one on here unless they blatantly do something terrible wrong. Okay. The ADA announcement, I want to mention that one, number 24, on the final evaluation. I believe it's also on the other one. Yeah, it's on day 11 and day 12, and it's also on the final day 12 here. ADA announcement. I'm finding out a lot of people have no idea what that is. That is simply when you go to drop somebody off, you've pulled to the curb and you say, call the passenger by name and say, please remain seated until I can escort you off the bus. I'll say that again. Please remain seated until I can escort you off the bus. And make sure that your driver, your trainee, is saying that for every single drop-off. Even if the passenger is secured in a scooter or a wheelchair, they need to say that. Please remain seated until I can escort you off the bus. And then you may get somebody laughing at you saying, like, I'm in a wheelchair, where am I going to go? You know, but it still has to be said. And your driver, your trainee, should have that down pat before you release them into service. Okay. Let's go to, that was everything in the book. Let's go to the paperwork. And I'll make this as short as I possibly can here. These pages are not in order, but they are all in your packet that you receive. These packets, you need 2 of these packets of the extra pages. You need 2 of the packets, 1 for each day. If you're going to do a third day of training, there has to be another packet for the 3rd day. Okay? You receive 1 packet. We're expecting to make copies. I understand sometimes the printer's not working, so now we're sending out at least 2 copies of it. And if you need a 3rd day copy, a 3rd day of training, then if your printer's not working at Shoreline, ask for it. We'll see what we can do about getting you a copy up there. But hopefully it's working. Okay, so let's continue. Behind the wheel. First of all, I want to start with this one. Manifest review. Looks like this. You've all seen it. Okay. Manifest review. You get 1 hour to go over the manifest with the trainee. You can spend that hour in doing whatever is necessary. If you only need 5 or 10 or up to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever time you need for going over the manifest, spend that time doing that and spend the extra time on your pre-trip. Because the pre-trip, as you know, these are new people and they're not real fast with it yet, and they need all the help they can get to speed things up. When they're doing their pre-trip and their post-trip, you need to be with them. This is a part of their training. Walk them through it, help them out with it, and remind them that they only get 15 minutes. They only get 15 minutes. And if they're taking a half an hour on their first day of driving, or their second day of driving, or a week later, got to pull them out of service and put them through refresher training all over again. Okay, so make sure that this is completely filled out and that the name and signature, ID number, and date are on there, and mark off what day, which day it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5th day of training. Okay. Behind the wheel cadet trainers evaluation, the cadet fills this out, and it's what they think about your training. Okay. Just make sure that you're not reading it afterwards. It's really a confidential thing. But I can tell you that most of the time the trainees are bragging about their trainers, which is pretty cool. But before they fill it out, make sure that they're filling out all this information on the top. Their name, your name, the route number, the vehicle number, the date, the time in and the time out. And that time in and time out is the whole day of training. Okay. Next we have the driver skills evaluation and refresher training form. Looks like this. Okay, it has all the little boxes down below on it. And that is the driver's name and employee number. All the drivers, all the trainees get their ID number prior to going to cadetting, so they should know what their ID number is. It has to be on all of their training paperwork. You'll notice that wherever there's a signature required, there's an ID number right next to it. Okay. Employee number. The start and stop time up there at the top. The start and stop time is the time that you started the evaluation, and the time, or excuse me, evaluation and training, and end of evaluation and training, which is the whole day. So the time you started to the time you finished. That's the whole day. Date of accident, NA. That doesn't count. Right below that it says date of refresher. Now this isn't a refresher training, it's their continued training, but this is their training. So that's the date of the training. So fill that in as the date of the training, where it says date of refresher. Print your name in the instructor name. Okay. In property name and contract number, it should say King County Division number 588 already on there. Looks like this. And then right below that, in the other box, it should say cadetting. If it doesn't say cadetting, write it in, please. If it doesn't say if the property name and contract number does not say King County Division number 588, write it in. And make sure you let me know, because when you receive these packets, it's already supposed to be in there. If you're receiving a packet without that information already typed in, somebody's giving you the wrong packet. The rest of those reasons for refresher check 1 are just leave them blank. The only one you need is other on there for cadetting. Driver's license number, CDL, yes or no. The class of their CDL, if they have one. The state of their license, and the expiration date of their license. Then the expiration date of their medical card, which is their DOT. And vehicle, bus, type, and model, just put PARA, para, short for paratransit. That's all we need in there. Don't need to know if it's a Ford, a Chevy, a Dodge, or Plymouth, or whatever. Okay, so then you have your little boxes to check off there for this training and evaluation session. Anything that does not apply, you put a single line through both boxes, just like that. Just a single line through both boxes, which tells the training department and any auditor that that did not apply that day. Take, for instance, if you don't cross any railroad crossings. Now, I know there's not a lot of railroad crossings up in the shoreline area, so you may never cross a single one. If that's the case, then down here in the railroad crossing area, you would have a single line through each one of those boxes, because you never came to a railroad crossing. So there you go. And at the very end here, driver signature, instructor signature, and for anything that got an unsatisfactory on this page, has to have a comment. Okay, why that happened. The information down the bottom where it says safety modules, DVDs shown, don't worry about that. That's for refresher training only. BTW Cadet Mobility Aid Securement Evaluation. If you had no securement aids today, which means wheelchair, scooter, or non-folding walker, if you had none of those, then down at the bottom you're going to check off the box that says no mobility aids today. You will not mark off pass or fail because you didn't have anything. If all you had was a non-folding walker, you mark off the appropriate boxes for the securement that they were doing, and then right down here at the bottom in an empty space, put down non-folding walker only. Okay. Otherwise, all these would apply for wheelchair. All of them would apply for two scooters. They all apply to wheelchair and scooter, but they don't all apply to non-folding walker. Now, I've had people put down, take for instance, let's see, lap and shoulder belt tight and secured. They've got that checked off as good for a non-folding walker. That tells me that they don't know what they're doing. They're just pencil whipping. So don't pencil whip. Mark the ones that apply. Like I said, if it's a non-folding walker, then it's not going to, all these are not going to apply to it. But if they don't all apply to it, and you mark off the ones that do, and it's a non-folding walker, I need you to put down non-folding walker only at the bottom. Maybe I'll put a box in there. I'll change that out so you don't have to write it in. Okay. And everybody gets the BTW cadetting. This is for the trainer. There's information on there to refresh your memory about what needs to be done with the paperwork and all. I just updated this, and so you'll be getting a different copy. It won't have this big bold box on it anymore because I had to put more information on here. I need you to read it, sign and date it on only the first one that you get, and send that back with your paperwork. After that, I will not be adding these to the packet because you need to know what to do. But once a year, we'll be adding this to the packet, and you just have to sign it off after you read it. So nobody can come to me and say, I was never told how to do that. I was never told I had to do that. No one ever taught me that. That's a bad thing to hear from a trainer, because the trainers have more information than the driver does, because it's repeated over and over and over again. Okay, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you know my phone number, so you can text me, you can call me.